What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Ducks and Download. Finally into phase 3 of the High Republic and feeling like I need to come back with some comic book breakdowns because these things have been absolutely stellar and are just setting up for some amazing scenery that we're going to get in phase 3 as the Jedi inch ever closer to their downfall. Like the Skywalker saga before it, we of course have phase 1, which sets up the Republic and the Jedi versus the Nihil. We just got phase 2 that covered a little bit of the prehistory of where the Nihil originated from and where Marchion Ro got a lot of his trinkets and family tricks. Well, if phase 3 is anything like these comics have been so far, I am terrified for all of our favorite Jedi because I don't think a lot of people are going to make it through this one. Things have gotten dark and bleak. Let's start off with Shadows of Starlight, issue number 1. This is directly after the fall of Starlight Beacon into the great vast waters of Iram. Yoda has initiated a callback protocol, almost unheard of in this time, for every single Jedi to return to Coruscant. When the Jedi have returned en masse, we see them have to use the actual Senate chambers to hold this meeting, something we've never seen before. That means there's this many Jedi. From there, they're going to initiate the Guardian protocols. What this is pretty much going to mean is every single youngling is going to be going into saber combat as quickly as possible. They're going to have the ability to go into the trials to become a Jedi Knight as soon as possible, and everyone, where aggression is not of course sought after, will have the opportunity to go out on strikes to take out some of these Nihil threats and to bring balance back to the hurt Jedi Order. One of the most really cool scenes that tells us exactly what's happening within the Jedi Order as they are getting far more militaristic is the change in lightsabers. And this change permeates through the entire fall of the Jedi, through Phantom Menace, all the way to Revenge of the Sith, due to the fact that because they are now forced to get everyone a lightsaber as quick as possible and go on these missions to take out Nihil, to take out Nameless, to seek those that would seek to destroy them, they forego the days of these beautifully elegant, crafted over months lightsabers with electrum, bronzium plating, and just all this gorgeous fillery, and instead go to what they literally call more battle sabers. Gone are the days of elegant lightsabers and brilliant white and gold robes. But Yoda has one thing that his mind cares about, even shooing away Elzar Mann, who is terrified that Avar Kriss has now been stuck behind the occlusion zone. Yoda simply says, all these Jedi are put exactly where they need to be on the other side of the Great Storm Wall, of the occlusion zone, the space that the Nihil have now cut off from everybody else in the galaxy. But to Yoda, the only thing that really matters right now is the Nameless. He says this is a threat that the Jedi must handle with extreme focus and determination. So much so that Yoda is not afraid to go outside of normal parameters and work with some very unruly characters. Yoda, attempting to find out all he can about the Nameless, brings in the only person he apparently knows of that's had a run-in with this species and lived to tell the tale. This very dark-hooded, mysterious figure with the dark side just resonating off of him. Azlyn Rael, an old Jedi who has in fact turned to the dark side. This revelation causes the entire Jedi Council to go into an uproar, in which Yoda gives another amazing teaching moment to even these old masters and promptly reminds them, if all of us together cannot handle one old man and one old Jedi, the Council we should not be. The Council extinguished their sabers, and things can finally begin to conversate as Azlyn Rael speaks of the fact that, yes, he has come in contact with the Nameless, and he knows more than the Jedi because he's allowed himself to fall into the dark side to study these creatures. This is really pushing my theory, guys, that the Sith might not be as affected by the Nameless as other Force users. This might lead to a bit of their uprise in the High Republic, leading to the fall of the Jedi, Phantom Menace, and the Sith's true power. More on that coming soon. Over the next little bit, we're going to see some glimpses of Azlyn Rael and Yoda working together. But at the same time, as the Jedi become more aggressive, seeking almost retribution or revenge, if you might want to call it that. Not so much the Jedi way. I wouldn't say they're completely disobeying the Jedi way, but they are on the slippery slope that leads to their fall. Younglings training with sabers when they shouldn't be. Bel Zettifar leading a strike team. And the other Jedi stuck in Nihil territory, just pretty much destroying whatever they can. Still not hurting innocent, of course, and trying to keep to their Jedi ways while in a time of war. Much like the Jedi during the Clone Wars, it's very hard to keep those sage-like sense of peace and harmony when you are fighting for your very life. Well, through working with Azlyn, Yoda is able to uncover the moments in which he does meet this great leveler, this nameless entity, finding out he might even know of people who know the location of Planet X, the homeworld of the Nameless. Through this almost torture of having to relive these memories of sadness and the despair that the Nameless brings to you, even sends him into a feverish rage at one point, almost striking down Yoda, until of course they call off the meditations when Yoda is able to defend himself quite easily. And there's only a few more sessions before they finally really find their goal and are able to see enough of what Aslan Rail can provide. From there, trying to seek out perhaps these people who know the Planet X location, it is seen Aslan Rail mysteriously speaking into some alien's ear. When they board the ship, he's speaking with Yoda about how close their goals are. Little does Yoda know, though, that the goal that Aslan had might not nearly whatsoever be the same that Yoda did. This person, perhaps mind controlled, definitely persuaded in the Force, takes control of the ship and crashes a shuttle directly into planetside, killing maybe millions, but definitely hundreds of thousands. This act he then claims and boasts was an act for all light side and dark side users, for the Jedi, for the Sith. He says that he sees all the things that the Jedi cannot see, removes his glasses to show he doesn't even have eyeballs at all. There's something perhaps about being on the dark side and having removed his eyes, he can be around the Nameless more or study them more without them affecting him as much. Is it the dark side? Is it his lack of eyes? Is it the mix of both? That's yet to be told, and I'm very excited to see where this goes. Now, issue number 2 is what we're getting into next. This one's also stellar, but is going to totally jump aside from that and really focus on Elzar and Avar. There's a very touching opening page with Elzar and Avar hugging, saying they're happy that each other made it. We then get to them at Relief Camp 4, where they're able to really reconcile the things that have happened, and of course they both blame themselves wholeheartedly for the fall of Starlight Beacon. Elzar blames himself for his slaughter of the woman who was about to stabilize the entire station, where of course Avar blames herself for being the marshal of the station who was never there, who cared more about the Drangir and the Nihil instead of truly focusing on Starlight Beacon's growth and prosperity. There's a really amazing kind of, poetry and rhythm of Avar Kriss' marshal, kind of like a Knight Templar or one of the early medieval knights trying to seek glory in battle to only destroy his serfdom. Well, now we're jumping to 1 week after the fall of Starlight, and Elzar has heeded the call of Yoda and the other council members returning to Coruscant. This is where we learn that why Avar wasn't there? Well, she simply refused and said no, she has things to do. She must fight the Nihil. She must regain her own standing, which is ego, and is, again, this is that dark path that a lot of the Jedi are going down now in Phase 3 that is gonna end very poorly for the Jedi Order. Now we jump to 10 days after the fall of Starlight, and Elzar refuses to eat, sleep, or step away from the comm system. We've even gotten this terrifying speech from Marchion where he's pretty much telling everyone over broadcast after taking over this area, you don't have to join me, because all in Nihil space are totally free. But if you don't join me, I will wipe you off the face of their planet. He is giving you the illusion of freedom to join the Nihil, and that is your really only choice. The storm wall has gone up. An entire fleet has been destroyed by the Nihil as they cut off an entire huge swath of the Outer Rim, and Avar and multiple other Jedi are stuck behind that wall in Nihil territory. Elzar, of course, cares far, far more for Avar, to his and more than likely her own detriment. Now, to see the other side of the story, we jump to 2 months after the fall of Starlight, and Avar is in a distant planet in the Occlusion Zone, seeking help from local villagers who happily give it, knowing the Jedi are the true help. But close by in the village, the Nihil are there right now, spreading lies and telling everyone the evils of the Jedi and the simple fact of follow the Nihil or be destroyed. It's good that we have some Jedi in there, but it's going to be very bad for those Jedi, because seeking help from local villages is only really going to hurt them. And 4 months later now, it's exactly that. Receiving more aid, but limited this time, as of course the Nihil are down their necks. A Nihil warship shows up and decimates the entire village, where only a few had continued to help Avar. Now Marshal Avar Kriss is truly alone and hunted, while Elzar is feverishly working on Coruscant on a Tythonic resonator, perhaps some ancient way for a Jedi to speak to one another through the Force itself. But something so dangerous, it's been completely canned, and the Jedi do not use this technology anymore. He tries to use the first one he crudely puts together, and of course it blows up in his face, but he did almost feel something The aloneness and sorrow that is radiating from Avar now. 7 months go by, and we jump to Elzar now, directly outside of the storm wall, looking scruffy and very crazed. He talks about how no one can jump through the storm wall, but what if you drive into it and jump through the middle or jump afterwards? Can you do that? His robot assistant, JJ5145, Stellan Geos, his old helper droid, is there with him saying this is an extremely ridiculous idea and all it's going to do is get them killed. When Elzar throws all caution to the wind and begins to shove the throttle forward to dive into the storm wall, the lightsaber ignites. 4-5 destroyed the console, saying he would rather save Elzar and do exactly what Stellan Geos would have done in that moment. He then produces a completely made, perfectly attuned Tythonic resonator and allows Elzar to use it. This is when we get one of the most depressing scenes I've ever seen with Avar Kriss, the blonde bombshell marshal, radiated of energy, hearing the song of the Force, almost in tears, huddled up, small and weak, hoping for help, crying out for anyone to hear her, just talking to a comm like someone's gonna ever be there, and there never is. Until finally she hears Elzar in her mind. And from there goes into an absolute tizzy, really showing the effect that this has done to her mentally. Screaming for light and life, revealing herself to all the nearby mercenaries who rush her, but she rushes them back. Now in absolute delusion, where she realizes she is not alone. She takes that swelling of the Force and says that she will save these people and never give up on the Jedi, for the Jedi will never give up on you. If there's even anyone left in this pile of rubble, it's gonna be a hard time for these Jedi. And I don't know how they're gonna really make it through this unless they all somehow come together. Hopefully Porter Engle can come and find Avar, because someone's gonna need to help her. I'm super excited to see what's gonna happen in the next issue of Shadows of Starlight. Down in the comments, while you're hitting the subscribe button, of course, and liking the video. It only takes a few seconds and it helps the channel so much. Make sure to tell me, though, in that comment section down below, what is your most anticipated reunion in Phase 3 of the High Republic? Thank you all so much for stopping by for this Shadow of Starlight comic book breakdown. Don't worry, we'll be diving into the High Republic Phase 3 mainline as well here very soon. Have an amazing rest of your night, and as always, may the Force serve you well.